The stars looked different from the observation deck of the EFS Harmony. Ambassador Lisa Morgan pressed her hand against the cool metal wall and watched the distant lights drift past the ship's windows. After 6 months of travel, they were finally approaching their destination. The Galactic Council Station waited somewhere in the darkness ahead. Lisa had spent 20 years working as a diplomat on Earth. She had helped end 3 wars and signed dozens of peace treaties. But this mission was different. This time, she carried the hopes of every person on Earth. Humanity was about to meet the galaxy for the first time. "Ambassador, we'll reach the station in 4 hours," said Captain Jake Thompson as he walked up behind her. Jake was a tall man with short brown hair and serious eyes. He commanded the small security team that protected the diplomatic mission. "The crew says everything looks normal out there." Lisa nodded and turned away from the window. "How are the others doing?" "Dr. Park is still studying the language files. Maria is reviewing the cultural protocols. Everyone's ready." Dr. Kevin Park was their language expert. He had learned to speak 7 alien languages in the past year. Maria Santos knew more about alien customs than anyone else on Earth. Together, they made up humanity's first contact team. The ship's communication system crackled to life. "This is the Galactic Council Station calling F's Harmony. Please respond." Lisa hurried to the bridge with Jake right behind her. The ship's captain, an older woman named Helen Cole, was already talking to the aliens. "This is Captain Cole of the EFS Harmony. We carry Earth's diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council. Welcome, humans. You are cleared to dock at Bay 7. A reception committee waits to greet you." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. After all the preparation, all the travel, they were finally here. She looked at the main screen as the station came into view. It was massive, bigger than any structure humans had ever built. Lights twinkled along its surface like stars, and ships moved in and out of docking bays like tiny insects. "It's beautiful," Maria whispered as she joined them on the bridge. She was a small woman with dark hair and bright eyes that always seemed to be watching everything around her. "It's big," Jake said. He was studying the station with a soldier's eye, looking for potential threats. Lot of places to hide things. Dr. Park arrived last. He was a thin man who always carried a tablet computer filled with notes. The communication patterns suggest at least 12 different species on that station. The linguistic variations are fascinating. Captain Cole guided the ship toward the docking bay. As they got closer, Lisa could see other ships already docked. Some were sleek and silver, others were dark and angular. A few looked like they were made of living coral. Each one represented a different alien species. "Docking complete," Captain Cole announced. "Welcome to the Galactic Council Station." Lisa took a deep breath. "Remember, we're here to make friends. Earth needs allies out here." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The corridor beyond was filled with artificial gravity and breathable air. Alien technology made it feel just like being on Earth, but Lisa knew they were millions of miles from home. Their reception committee was waiting in the corridor. The leader was a tall, thin creature with 4 arms and skin that looked like green metal. Its eyes were large and dark, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Republic. Welcome to the Galactic Council Station." Beside the Chancellor stood a creature that looked like it belonged in Earth's oceans. It had smooth blue skin and fins instead of arms. When it spoke, its voice bubbled like water. "I am Speaker Myrtle of the Oceanic Collective. We have prepared quarters for your delegation." Lisa stepped forward and bowed slightly, the way Maria had taught her. "I am Ambassador Lisa Morgan, representing Earth and all humanity. We are honored to be here." "Your species is most unusual," Chancellor Vextar said as they walked through the station's corridors. "Most new civilizations take centuries to develop space travel." Humans achieved it in less than 100 years. We're fast learners, Lisa replied with a smile. The quarters they were given were large and comfortable. The walls could display images from Earth, making the rooms feel more like home. There were separate bedrooms for each member of the team, plus a common area where they could meet and plan. The opening ceremony is tomorrow, Speaker Myrtle explained. You will address the full council and present your case for membership. Many species are curious about your world. After the aliens left, the team gathered in the common area. Jake checked all the rooms for listening devices, while the others discussed their plans. 17 different species will be at the ceremony, Dr. Park said, reading from his tablet. Each one has a different culture, different values. Some are peaceful traders, others are warriors. A few are so advanced they barely notice other species. The key is to show them we're not a threat, Lisa said. We want to trade, to learn, to be part of the galactic community. Maria looked worried. Some of the intelligence reports suggest not everyone wants us here. The Draconian Empire sees us as potential rivals. They've been the dominant military power for over 1,000 years. Let me worry about security, Jake said. You focus on the diplomacy. That night, Lisa stood at the window in her quarters and looked out at the stars. Tomorrow would determine humanity's future. If the mission succeeded, Earth would join the galactic community. If it failed, they might remain alone in the universe forever. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, about the billions of people waiting for news. They were all counting on her to make the right choices, to say the right words. The ceremony would begin in 12 hours. Lisa Morgan, a woman from a small planet in an unremarkable solar system, would stand before the greatest powers in the galaxy and speak for her entire species. She just hoped she was ready for what came next. The ceremony hall was the largest room Lisa had ever seen. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, and the walls curved away in all directions. Hundreds of seats filled the space, each one designed for a different alien species. Some looked like normal chairs, others were filled with water, or heated to extreme temperatures. Lisa walked onto the speaking platform with her team beside her. Dr. Park carried his translation device. Maria had her cultural notes, and Jake kept his eyes on the crowd. The human delegation looked very small in the massive hall. Chancellor Vextar stood at the center of the platform. His 4 arms moved in complex patterns as he spoke to the assembled council. We gather today to hear from the humans of Earth. They come from a world far from our normal space lanes, seeking membership in our community. Lisa stepped forward when her turn came. She had practiced this speech 100 times, but her voice still trembled slightly as she began. Representatives of the Galactic Council, I stand before you as a voice for humanity. We are a young species, still learning about the universe beyond our world. But we come with open hearts and minds, ready to join you in peace. She spoke about Earth's history, its struggles and triumphs. She talked about human art, music, and literature. She described their dreams of exploring the stars and meeting new friends among the alien civilizations. We have made mistakes in our past, Lisa continued. We have fought wars and caused suffering, but we have also learned from these experiences. We know the value of peace, of cooperation, of working together toward common goals. The alien delegates listened in silence. Some seemed interested, others appeared bored. A few looked hostile, especially the representatives from the Draconian Empire. They were large reptilian creatures with red eyes and sharp teeth. Their leader, General Skarthik, watched Lisa with obvious distrust. We do not seek to dominate or conquer, Lisa said as she reached the end of her speech. We seek only to learn, to trade, to be part of something greater than ourselves. Humanity offers its friendship to all who will accept it. The hall erupted in discussion as hundreds of aliens talked at once. The translation devices created a cacophony of voices in dozens of languages. Lisa returned to her seat and waited for the council's response. Speaker Myrtle rose from his water-filled chair. The council will now discuss the human application. All visitors will observe the traditional ceremony of cultural exchange while we deliberate. The ceremony began with music from different worlds. Some of it sounded beautiful to human ears. Other pieces were harsh and alien. Dancers from various species performed on the platform, their movements strange and hypnotic. Lisa relaxed slightly. The presentation had gone well. Several alien delegates had nodded approvingly during her speech. Even some of the neutral species seemed interested in learning more about Earth. "I think it went well," Maria whispered beside her. "The linguistic analysis suggests positive reception from at least 60% of the delegates," Dr. Park added. Quietly, Jake said nothing, but Lisa noticed his hand resting near his weapon. Something was making him nervous. The cultural ceremony continued for another hour. As it neared its end, the lights in the hall began to dim. Lisa assumed this was part of the traditional program, but Jake tensed beside her. "Something's wrong," he whispered. The lights dimmed further, until the hall was filled with deep shadows. Lisa could barely see the other delegates in their seats. On the platform, the dancers had stopped moving. "Citizens of the council," came a voice from the darkness. It was General Scarthick, the Draconian leader. "We have discovered a terrible truth about these humans." Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie red shadows throughout the hall. Lisa saw movement in the darkness around them. Armed figures were emerging from hidden positions throughout the ceremony hall. "They come from a death world," General Scarthick continued. "A planet so violent that every creature on it is trained to kill. These humans are predators, evolved to hunt and destroy. They are a threat to every peaceful species in the galaxy." "That's not true," Lisa called out, standing up from her seat. "We came here in peace. We want to be friends." But her words were drowned out by the sound of weapons powering up. The armed figures surrounding the human delegation were all draconian. Soldiers, their scales gleaming in the red light. Jake moved fast, pulling Lisa behind an overturned chair. "Get down, everyone, down." The first energy blast hit the platform where Lisa had been standing seconds before. The metal floor melted and sparked. More shots followed, filling the air with deadly light. "This is a trap," Jake shouted over them. Noise. He had his weapon out now, returning fire at the draconian soldiers. They planned this from the beginning. Dr. Park was huddled behind another chair, his tablet computer clutched against his chest. The communication protocols suggested this was a peaceful ceremony. There was no indication of hostile intent. "They lied," Maria said. She was pressed against the floor, trying to stay below the energy blasts. "They wanted us here so they could kill us." Jake's weapon fire dropped one of the attacking soldiers, but more kept coming. The other council delegates were fleeing the hall in panic, some screaming in their alien languages. But Lisa noticed that many of them didn't look surprised. They had known this was going to happen. "Jake, the communication device," Lisa shouted. "Record everything. Earth needs to know what really happened here." Jake reached for his emergency beacon while still firing at the attackers. His fingers found the activation switch just as an energy blast caught him in the shoulder. He screamed in pain, but managed to turn on the device. "Earth Command, this is Captain Thompson. We are under attack." "Repeat, we are under attack." The council meeting was a trap. They mean to kill us all. The beacon's camera captured everything. The draconian soldiers advancing through the hall, their weapons raised. The other council delegates fleeing or standing aside to watch. The human delegation fighting desperately for their lives got another energy blast hit Dr. Park. He fell forward, his tablet sliding across the floor. The translation device sparked and went dead. Lisa crawled toward him, but she could see it was too late. "Kevin!" She cried out. Maria was next. She tried to run for the exit, but a draconian soldier cut her down with a precise shot to the back. She collapsed just meters from the doorway. Her cultural notes scattered around her. Jake was still fighting, but his weapon was almost out of power. Blood flowed from his wounded shoulder, and he was growing weaker. He looked at Lisa with desperate eyes. "Tell them," he said. "Tell Earth what they did to us." The final volley of energy blasts lit up the hall like lightning. Jake fell beside his weapon, his hand still reaching for the beacon. Lisa felt the burning pain in her chest as her own life began to fade. Through the red haze of dying vision, she saw General Scarthick walking toward them. His reptilian face showed no emotion, only cold satisfaction. "The Deathworld predators have been eliminated," he announced to the remaining council delegates. "The galaxy is safe." Lisa's last thought was of her daughter back on Earth. She hoped someone would tell her what had really happened here. She hoped Earth would remember. The beacon continued recording for another 17 minutes before its power finally died. By then, the ceremony hall was empty, except for the bodies of 4 humans and the scattered remains of their peaceful mission. The Galactic Council's official report would claim that the humans had attacked first, forcing a defensive response. But the beacon's final transmission was already racing through space toward Earth, carrying the truth about what had happened on the Council station. The galaxy was about to learn what it meant to murder the children of a death world. The cargo pods were detected 3 weeks after the massacre. Earth Defense Force patrol ships found them drifting at the edge of the solar system, their automated systems broadcasting a simple message: "Return to sender." Captain Helen Cole commanded the recovery ship that brought the pods back to Earth. She had been Lisa Morgan's friend for 20 years, and she knew what the pods contained before they were opened. The beacon's transmission had reached Earth 2 days earlier, showing the world exactly what had happened to their diplomatic mission. "Ma'am, we're ready to begin the recovery operation," her first officer reported. Helen nodded, her jaw tight. With anger, "Bring them home." The pods were small, barely large enough for a human body. When the recovery team opened them, they found the remains of the 4 diplomats inside. Lisa Morgan, Dr. Kevin Park, Maria Santos, and Captain Jake Thompson had been returned to Earth like unwanted cargo. President Alex Turner was waiting at the spaceport when the recovery ship landed. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes, but today those eyes burned with cold fury. The entire Global Defense Council stood with him, along with hundreds of reporters and thousands of citizens who had come to honor the dead. "They sent them back to us like garbage," Admiral Ryan Brooks said quietly. He was the commander of Earth's small space fleet, a career military man who had fought in the resource wars. "They want us to know what happens when humans try to leave their home system." General Patricia Hayes stood beside the Admiral. She was shorter than most of the men around her, but her presence commanded respect. "The beacon transmission has been analyzed, Mr. President. This was planned from the beginning. They never intended to accept us into their council." Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward with her report. She was Earth's leading expert on alien biology, and she had spent the last 3 weeks studying everything the diplomatic mission had learned about the galactic community. "The intelligence we gathered paints a disturbing picture," she said. "Most of these alien species evolved on what they call garden worlds, planets with mild climates, abundant food, and very little danger. They've never faced the kind of evolutionary pressure that shaped humanity." President Turner looked at the sealed containers that held the remains of his diplomats. "What does that mean for us?" "It means they don't understand what we are," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "They see us as monsters because we come from a world that forces every creature to fight for survival. They're afraid of what we might become. The funeral for the diplomatic team was held the next day. Millions of people attended, either in person or through global broadcasts. Lisa Morgan was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, along with her 3 companions. Their sacrifice had revealed the truth about humanity's place in the galaxy, but the funeral was only the beginning. As the ceremonies ended, President Turner called an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The meeting was held in the secure bunker beneath the Capitol, where Earth's leaders made decisions that would affect the entire human race. The Galactic Council has made their position clear, President Turner said as the meeting began. They consider us a threat to be contained, not a species to be welcomed. Their quarantine fleet is already moving toward our solar system. Admiral Brooks activated a holographic display showing the approaching alien ships. 200 vessels, representing at least 8 different species. They'll be in position within 6 months. What are options? Asked Secretary of Defense Robert King. We can submit to their quarantine and hope they leave us alone, General Haas replied. Or we can fight. Fight with what? Asked Dr. Rodriguez. Our entire space fleet has maybe 50 combat-capable ships. They outnumber us 4 to 1. Admiral Brooks smiled grimly. Numbers aren't everything, Doctor. Jake Thompson's beacon showed us something important. These aliens fight like they evolved on garden worlds. They expect their enemies to surrender when faced with superior force. And humans don't surrender, General Hayes added. President Turner walked to the window overlooking the capital city. Below, he could see the construction. Crews already at work. Within hours of the diplomatic team's return, every major industrial facility on Earth had begun converting to military production. How long do we have? He asked. 6 months until their quarantine fleet arrives, Admiral Brooks replied. Maybe 8 months before they feel confident enough to attack. Then we have 8 months to show them what a death world can produce, President Turner said. General Hayes, I want every weapon factory, every shipyard, every industrial facility converted to military production. Admiral Brooks, I want new ship designs that can take punishment and keep fighting. What about the civilians? Asked Dr. Rodriguez. Every human is a civilian until someone threatens their family, President Turner replied. The council made this choice when they murdered our diplomats. Now they'll live with the consequences. Within weeks, Earth's transformation was obvious. From space, the planet's night side blazed with light as factories worked around the clock. Asteroid mining operations expanded rapidly, bringing in the raw materials needed for the war effort. The orbital shipyards that had built exploration vessels now produced warships designed for close combat. Commander Sarah Blake was given command of the first new warship to roll off the production lines. The EFS Retribution was unlike any ship humans had built before. It was heavily armored, with multiple backup systems and weapons that could function even after major damage. She's not pretty, Admiral Brooks said as he toured the ship with Sarah. But she's built to keep fighting, when prettier ships would be floating debris. Sarah nodded as she studied the ship's specifications. The armor is 3 times thicker than standard. The weapon systems are designed for close-range combat. And these emergency protocols. If the main bridge is destroyed, the ship can be controlled from 6 different locations. Admiral Brooks explained. If the engines are damaged, emergency thrusters can still maneuver the ship. If life support fails, the crew can survive in pressure suits for 48 hours. How many ships like this are we building? 400, if we can get the materials. Each one crewed by humans who've been training for combat since the diplomatic mission was killed. Sarah looked out at the construction yards where dozens of similar ships were taking shape. The council thinks they're dealing with a normal species. They're about to learn what evolution on a death world really means. The first test came when a small council patrol ventured too close to Mars. 3 alien ships approached the planet, probably expecting to find frightened humans hiding behind their defenses. Instead, they found the EFS Retribution waiting for them. The engagement lasted 17 minutes. The alien ships were faster and more maneuverable, but they were built for policing compliant civilizations. When the human ship absorbed damage that should have been crippling and kept fighting, the aliens panicked. "Target the lead ship," Sarah ordered from the bridge. "Full power to forward weapons." The Retribution's guns tore through the alien ship's elegant armor like paper. The second ship tried to flee, but Sarah's crew had been training for this moment. They pursued the fleeing aliens and destroyed them before they could escape. Only one alien ship survived to return to the Council fleet. Its captain's report spoke of humans who fought like demons, ships that refused to die, and weapons that seemed designed for maximum destruction. "They're not like us," the alien captain reported. "They don't follow the rules of civilized warfare. They fight like predators." The Council's response was swift. They began mobilizing their Grand Fleet, the largest military force in galactic history. 3,000 ships representing dozens of species, all united in their fear of the Death World. Humans. But on Earth, the war preparations continued. Every day brought new ships, new weapons, new soldiers trained to fight in the cold vacuum of space. The planet that had once sought peaceful contact with the galaxy now resembled a fortress preparing for siege. President Turner stood on the observation deck of the Orbital Command Station, watching the construction work below. Earth's industrial might had been unleashed, and the results were impressive. But he knew the real test was still coming. "The Council's Grand Fleet will arrive in 3 months," Admiral Brooks reported. "Our intelligence suggests they plan to destroy our orbital facilities and force us to surrender." "Let them come," President Turner replied. Lisa Morgan and her team died trying to make peace. "Now we'll show the galaxy what happens when you murder human diplomats." The age of human expansion was about to begin, written in the fire and blood of interstellar war. 6 months after the massacre, Earth was no longer recognizable. The blue and green planet that had once seemed so peaceful now bristled with weapons and defensive installations. Every major city had been converted into a military production center. The orbital shipyards stretched across space like metallic spider webs, birthing new warships every day. Commander Sarah Blake walked through the corridors of the F's Vengeance, her new flagship. The ship was twice the size of the Retribution, with armor plating that could withstand direct hits from the most powerful alien weapons. But it was the crew that made the real difference. "Status report," Sarah said as she entered the bridge. "All systems operational, Commander," replied Lieutenant Danny Walsh. He was young, maybe 25, but his eyes held the cold focus of a predator. "The first Terran strike fleet is ready for deployment." Sarah nodded and looked out at the assembled fleet. 400 human warships hung in space around Earth's moon, each one a testament to human determination. They were ugly ships by galactic standards, built for war rather than beauty. But they were crewed by humans who had grown up on a death world, and that made all the difference. "The Council's Grand Fleet will arrive in the asteroid belt within the week," Sarah announced to her crew. "They expect us to surrender when we see their numbers. They think we'll be intimidated by their superior technology." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Several of them smiled, but there was no humor in those expressions. They were the smiles of hunters who had found their prey. "They don't understand us," continued Lieutenant Walsh. "They think we're just another species that will roll over when faced with overwhelming force." "That's their mistake," Sarah replied. "Admiral Brooks has chosen our battleground. We'll make our stand in the asteroid belt, where their numbers won't matter as much." The plan was simple but brutal. The human fleet would use the asteroids as cover, forcing the aliens into close-quarters combat where superior numbers became a disadvantage. It was the kind of fighting that humans had been bred for over millions of years of evolution. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had continued her studies of alien psychology throughout the war preparation. Her reports made for disturbing reading. The galactic civilizations were soft, she concluded. They had never faced real hardship, never been forced to fight for survival. When challenged, they typically surrendered rather than risk heavy casualties. Humans are different, she explained to the military commanders. We evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. We learned to fight back, to never give up, to keep going, even when badly wounded. These aliens have never faced an enemy like us. The first major engagement came when a Council reconnaissance squadron entered the outer solar system. Admiral Brooks sent a small task force to intercept them, led by Captain Lisa Turner. She was President Turner's daughter, a career officer who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Remember, Captain Turner broadcast to her small fleet, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to teach them what they're facing. The battle was over in minutes. The alien scout ships were faster and more maneuverable than the human vessels, but they were built for reconnaissance, not combat. When the human ships absorbed damage that should have been crippling and kept fighting, the aliens panicked. One alien ship tried to ram Captain Turner's vessel, hoping to destroy it in a suicide attack. But humans had been perfecting the art of ramming for thousands of years. Captain Turner's ship was specifically designed to survive such impacts. The alien vessel crumpled against the human ship's armored hull, while the human crew barely felt. The collision? Target the remaining ships, Captain Turner ordered. No survivors. The surviving alien vessels tried to flee, but the human ships pursued them relentlessly. Every alien ship was destroyed before it could escape the solar system. The lesson was clear. Humans would show no mercy to those who had murdered their diplomats. The reports from the reconnaissance squadron's destruction spread quickly through the Council's grand fleet. The alien commanders began to understand that they were facing something unprecedented in galactic history. These humans didn't fight like civilized beings. They fought like wild animals, with no regard for their own safety. They're predators, reported General Scarthick, the draconian commander who had orchestrated the diplomatic massacre. They don't follow the normal rules of warfare. They fight until they're dead, and even then they try to take enemies with them. The Council's response was to increase the size of their attacking force. 3,000 ships became 4,000, then 5,000. Representatives from every major galactic civilization joined the fleet, united in their fear of the Deathworld humans. But the humans were ready for them. The asteroid belt had been turned into a fortress. Mining stations had been converted into weapons platforms. Automated defense systems waited silently among the rocks, programmed to attack anything that wasn't human. Lieutenant Commander Ganny Walsh piloted one of the new fighter craft that would spearhead the human defense. The ships were small and fast, designed to dart between the asteroids and strike at larger targets. But it was the pilot that made them truly dangerous. "Control, this is Wolf Leader," Danny reported as he flew patrol near Ceres. "I've got visual on the approaching fleet. They're bigger than we thought." "Copy that, Wolf Leader. How many ships?" Danny looked at the sensor readings and felt his blood run cold. "Control, I count over 6,000 vessels. They've brought everything they have." "Roger, Wolf Leader. Return to base. It's time to show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The Council's grand fleet entered the asteroid belt like a river of metal and light. Ship after ship emerged. From hyperspace, their weapons powered and ready for battle. The alien commanders expected the humans to flee when they saw the overwhelming force arrayed against them. Instead, They found Admiral Brooks waiting for them with the entire Terran defense fleet. 400 human ships against 6,000 alien vessels. The odds were impossible, but the humans had never cared about odds. "All ships, this is Admiral Brooks," came the broadcast across the human fleet. "The alien fleet has arrived. They outnumber us 15 to 1. They have superior technology and more experienced crews. They think these advantages will give them an easy victory." The Admiral paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried the cold fury of humanity unleashed. "They're about to learn what it means to fight the children of Earth. They wanted to see what a death world produces. We're going to show them. All ships, engage at will." The battle for the asteroid belt was about to begin. The largest fleet in galactic history faced off against 400 human warships, crewed by predators who had been bred for war. The galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before. Total war waged by apex predators who refused to surrender. In the depths of space, surrounded by ancient rocks and the light of distant stars, two very different concepts of warfare were about to collide. The aliens fought to enforce their will and maintain their dominance. The humans fought for survival, for revenge, and for the right to exist in a galaxy that had tried to murder them. The outcome would determine not just the fate of Earth, but the future of galactic civilization itself. The age of human expansion was about to begin, written in fire and blood among the asteroids of humanity's home system. The battle began at 0800 hours, Earth Standard Time. The Council's Grand Fleet moved through the asteroid belt in perfect formation, their ships arranged in neat battle lines that had dominated galactic warfare for centuries. 6,000 vessels, representing dozens of species, all united in their mission to destroy the human threat. Admiral Brooks watched them approach from the bridge of his flagship, the EFS Defiance. The alien formation was beautiful in its precision, like a deadly ballet performed among the stars. But beauty wouldn't save them from what was coming. "All ships maintain radio silence," Brooks ordered. "Let them think we're going to fight a conventional battle." The alien fleet opened fire at maximum range, sending thousands of energy beams and missiles toward the human positions. The attack was coordinated and devastating, designed to overwhelm the human defenses through sheer volume of fire. But the humans weren't where the aliens expected them to be. The 400 human ships had scattered throughout the asteroid belt, using the rocks as cover and concealment. When the alien bombardment struck, it hit empty space and floating debris. "Now," Brooks said quietly, "the asteroids came alive with weapons fire." Hidden gun platforms opened up on the alien formation, catching them completely by surprise. Mining charges detonated throughout the belt, sending massive rocks tumbling into the path of enemy ships. The humans had turned their entire home system into a weapon. Commander Sarah Blake led the first wave of human ships out of concealment. The EFS Vengeance burst from behind a large asteroid, her guns already firing. The ship that had been designed to absorb punishment began dealing it out instead. "Target their command ships," Sarah ordered. "Take out their leaders first." The Vengeance's weapons tore through the armor of a massive alien dreadnought. The ship had been built to intimidate lesser species, but it had never faced weapons designed by predators. The elegant alien vessel broke apart under the human assault, its crew dying in the cold vacuum of space. The alien fleet tried to reform their battle lines, but the humans weren't giving them time. Lieutenant Commander Danny Walsh led his fighter squadron in a series of hit-and-run attacks, darting between the larger ships and striking at critical systems. "Wolf leader to all fighters," Danny broadcast. "Remember, we're not trying to destroy them all. We're trying to make them panic." The strategy worked perfectly. The alien pilots had been trained for orderly battles between organized fleets. They had never faced enemies who fought like wild animals, using every dirty trick and desperate tactic imaginable. One human ship, the EFS Retribution, had lost its main engines to alien fire. Instead of surrendering, Captain Helen Cole ordered a ramming attack against the nearest enemy vessel. The human ship crashed into the alien dreadnought at full speed, both vessels disappearing in a ball of fire and twisted metal. "Did you see that?" An alien pilot screamed over the communication channels. "They're insane. They're all insane." The panic spread through the alien fleet like wildfire. Ships began breaking formation, trying to flee the battle or seeking safety in numbers. But the humans had planned for this. Every escape route was blocked. Every safe harbor had been turned into a trap. Captain Lisa Turner led a boarding party against a captured alien vessel. The ship was massive, designed to carry a crew of thousands. But the aliens had never faced human Marines in close combat. "Remember," Lisa told her troops as they prepared to board the enemy ship, "they're not predators. They don't know how to fight when someone gets close." The boarding action was over in minutes. The alien crew, faced with human soldiers who fought, with knives and guns in bare hands, simply couldn't cope. They surrendered en masse, begging for mercy from the terrifying Deathworld creatures. But the humans weren't interested in mercy. They had seen the bodies of their diplomatic team, had watched the beacon recordings of the massacre. This was about revenge, about showing the galaxy what happened when you murdered human diplomats. The boarding parties moved through the alien ships like ghosts of death. They had trained for this kind of fighting their entire lives, had grown up watching movies about warriors who never surrendered. The aliens, raised on peaceful worlds where conflict was rare, had no answer for such brutal efficiency. "Surrender is not an option," Lisa broadcast to her Marines. "These are the same species that murdered Ambassador Morgan and her team. They wanted to see what Deathworlders are capable of. We're showing them." The turning point came when General Scarthic, the Draconian commander, tried to rally his fleet for one final assault. He had orchestrated the diplomatic massacre, believing that killing a few human diplomats would intimidate the entire species. Now he faced the consequences of that decision. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship," Scarthic ordered. "Destroy their command ship, and they'll surrender." Over 300 alien vessels turned their weapons on the EFS Defiance. The bombardment was so intense that nearby asteroids melted from the reflected energy. Any normal ship would have been vaporized instantly, but the Defiance had been built by humans who understood what it meant to fight for survival. The ship's armor held, its backup systems activated, and its crew kept fighting even as sections of the vessel were blown away. "Damage report," Admiral Brooks called out as the ship shook around him. "Main engines at 60%, sir. Forward weapons offline. Life support compromised in sections 4 through 7. Can we still maneuver?" "Yes, sir. Emergency thrusters are responding." Brooks smiled grimly. "Then we're still in this fight." "All ships, this is Admiral Brooks. The enemy has shown us their best shot. Now let's show them ours." The human fleet responded with a coordinated assault that defied everything the aliens understood about warfare. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Crews that should have surrendered continued their attacks. Weapons that should have been offline somehow found power to fire one more shot. The EFS Vengeance, her hull breached in dozens of places, rammed directly into General Scarthoc's flagship. Commander Sarah Blake had ejected her crew in escape pods before the impact, but she stayed at the controls until the very end. "This is for Ambassador Morgan," Sarah broadcast as her ship struck the alien vessel. "And for every human who died believing in peace." The explosion lit up the asteroid belt like a second sun. When the light faded, both ships were gone, but the alien fleet was broken. Their supreme commander was dead, their formation shattered. and their will to fight completely destroyed. "All alien vessels, this is Admiral Brooks," came the broadcast from the damaged, but still fighting EFS Defiance. "You came here to destroy us. You believed your superior numbers and technology would guarantee victory. You were wrong." The surviving alien ships began to flee, but the humans weren't finished with them. Fighter squadrons pursued the retreating vessels, picking them off one by one. Every enemy ship that tried to escape was hunted down and destroyed. Lieutenant Commander Danny Walsh led the final pursuit, his fighter squadron chasing down the last fleeing aliens. His ship had been damaged in the main battle, but he kept flying. On emergency power and raw determination. "Control, this is Wolf Leader," Danny reported. "The last enemy formation is attempting to reach the hyperspace jump point. Negative, Wolf Leader. Don't let them escape. Earth remembers what they did." To our diplomats. Danny pushed his fighter to its limits, overtaking the fleeing alien ships just as they prepared to jump to hyperspace. His weapons were almost depleted, but he had one trick left. "For humanity," he said, and activated his ship's self-destruct. Sequence. The explosion destroyed the last 3 alien vessels, ensuring that none would escape to report the battle's outcome. The silence that followed was deafening dot when the battle ended. The asteroid belt was filled with the wreckage of over 4,000 alien ships. The Council's Grand Fleet, the largest military force in galactic history, had been destroyed by 400 human vessels. The casualties were staggering, but the message was clear. "This is Admiral Brooks broadcasting to the galaxy," came the transmission that would be heard on every civilized world. "You sent your diplomats to murder ours. You declared war on humanity, thinking we were weak and primitive. You were wrong on all counts." The broadcast included footage from the battle, showing human ships that refused to die and crews that fought to the last breath. It showed the boarding actions where human Marines overwhelmed alien defenders through sheer ferocity. It showed the moment when the EFS Vengeance destroyed the enemy flagship in a suicide attack. "This is what happens when you threaten the children of Earth," Brooks continued. "We came to you in peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. You responded with murder and threats. Now you know what Deathworlders are truly capable of." The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council collapsed within days as member species withdrew in panic. The Draconian Empire found itself isolated and powerless. Their military might revealed as hollow intimidation, but the humans weren't finished. Earth's shipyards continued producing warships, and now they had a clear purpose. A galaxy had rejected humanity's offer of peace, so humanity would take their place among the stars by force. President Turner addressed the human race from the ruins of the Council's Grand Fleet. Behind him, salvage crews worked to recover useful technology F.